Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review The Suicide Squad. And not to be confused with Suicide Squad, which came out, I guess, 5 years ago, and already being kind of rebooted, kind of rebranded. This is kind of a sequel, but creative control has been shifted over to James Gunn, who took on this film after he was fired from Marvel and then wound up back with Marvel. But DC's like, you could do anything. And he wanted to do a Suicide Squad movie. And that makes perfect sense. And who wouldn't want James Gunn doing an R-rated, basically Dirty Dozen version of DC villains? And boy, does he pick some of the most obscure ones too. And some of them even get a pretty big spotlight on them, like Polka Dot Man, of all people. And this film is very much James Gunn. And it's that balance of what he was pre-Guardians and what he is now with Guardians of the Galaxy. Because there's a lot of fun, but this is gory and violent and over the top and campy and ridiculous. And there's those moments that it's like, if that's not your thing and you really hate gore and violence, then what are you watching this movie for? It's pretty obvious this is where that movie's going, and it gleefully goes there. And it's exciting, it's crazy, this film is well shot. There's some really interesting filmmaking that goes into this film. There's one particular fight scene that part of it is shot in the reflection of something, and you're just like, this is like straight Hitchcock over here, and like straight out of Strangers on a Train. And it's so impressive that James Gunn's going full-blown this way. He has fun with even just like title cards and stuff like that. And if you watch the film, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This film has so much energy and is fun and keeps you on your toes. It uses a non-linear form of storytelling, which isn't 100% necessary. It builds intrigue, and I think that's one of the biggest things. This film starts off with a crazy opening sequence on a beach and just bloodbath. And here's the thing. He wasn't kidding when he's like, the Suicide Squad, people are going to die. And they sure do. So this actually felt like a Suicide Squad. And obviously I'm not going to say who bites the dust, but cue another one bites the dust quite a few times during this film. And you get to a lot of emotional moments too that you don't really expect. There's some really wonderful key emotional moments. Like the part of the film is actually Ratcatcher 2. So weird. And Polka Dot Man really has his moments. I actually cared about Rick Flag in this movie. If he died in the first one, would not have cared at all. But you get some real connection with him. And they do some actual genuine character building with Harley Quinn from her other outings. So like, this is really a sequel. You bring that stuff over. And like, Bloodsport's a great addition. King Shark's adorable and also vicious, which is hilarious. And you get so much more in this film than you ever expect. From a story standpoint, you know, it's not the most unique or fresh or intriguing story, but it does pack a lot of geopolitical issues into it that you probably wouldn't expect out of this film that actually hit pretty well. There's some aspects of it that probably could have been trimmed here. There's a particular little romance with Harley Quinn that it's just like, it's fun and there's funny sequence, but did it really need to be in the movie? There's some character moments built in for her, but like, was that essential? You have a lot of moving pieces with this geopolitical stuff. Was there too many characters in it? Potentially. But this is a really interesting allegory and also like straight commentary on, in many ways, of American foreign policy. And it's interesting because one particular character really channels that, and like Peacemaker's a really interesting character in this film. And when you get to the actual performances, John Cena is absolutely hilarious and plays this character so perfectly. He was perfect casting for it. Idris Elba is the straight man, just the disgusted, like, ugh, I can't believe these people kind of character who has a lot of heart to him. Margot Robbie is just pitch perfect as Harley Quinn. Joel Kinnaman gets some moments as Rick Flag that, like, you actually care about Rick Flag. Viola Davis is intense and just badass as Amanda Waller. You get a crazy amount of like cameos from all kinds of people like Pete Davidson and Nathan Fillion and Sean Gunn, like characters like Weasel. And then like Sylvester Stallone is so great as King Shark and Peacemaker and Friend Nom Nom. And just people are comparing him to Groot, and it's just like kind of is, but he's so much fun and so crazy. David Dastmalchian as Polka Dot Man adds so many layers to this character that this character did not deserve. But he's so endearing, and he's a wonderful addition to this cast. And you have people like Peter Capaldi, who's fun in his role as the Thinker. He's exactly what you would expect from him, and I'm trying to remember the actresses. So Daniela Melchior, who's Ratcatcher 2, she's fantastic in this film. She is the real standout of this film. I loved her. Her performance was fantastic. She brings so much emotion. And then the like big bad antagonist is actually kind of tragic. And it's also the strangest villain I've seen in a comic book movie like ever. So there's so many things going for this film. And like I said, the actual narrative, the big plot is not the most unique or particularly interesting. There's definitely some scenes that could have been cut that are more just there to give us a little bit more fun and a little bit more, slightly more character moments, but I think like the film could have done without them. But I'm not gonna lie, I was engaged every single scene of this movie. I had so much fun. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. And this is probably the best DCEU film for me. And like, I really like Man of Steel a lot. I'm one of the few people who really liked Wonder Woman 1984. I love Birds of Prey. And I think Aquaman's a ton of fun. Shazam's a ton of fun. Shazam's like a better film than Aquaman. It had its tonal issues. But like this, I think's at the top. And it's a pleasant, wonderful surprise. But the thing is, when you tell me you take the Suicide Squad, you put them in a Dirty Dozen situation, and you have James Gunn directing it, you get what you expected. And it's a blast. So go check this one out. I watch it on HBO Max. It's also in theaters. But those are my thoughts on the Suicide Squad. Let me know what you think. Let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.